This snowboard is absolutely disgusting. Now, I was riding the snowboard in August at Copper Mountain, and the snow not only was extremely dirty, but they super greased the rails. That way they could slide really nice, which caused a ton of the grease to get on the base of the board, get in the pores of the board. Literally, look at my fingers from just touching the base of this board. It's gross. It's disgusting. And we are going to fully tune up this board for the upcoming ski season, and we're going to do it my way. So if I don't do it the right way or the technical way, or I did something wrong, that's fine, because in this video, I'm going to show the average Joe Blow, any of you guys watching this, how to take your board from bottom of the barrel condition, this thing shouldn't be ridden like this, to pristine, ready to go. We're gonna have the sickest day on the mountain. So enough talking, let's clean her up. Now, first things first, we want to clean up the base before we touch the edges or do anything like that. And the products we're going to be using are all Pearl wax products. It's my wax sponsor. And the cool thing about Pearl is they don't only just sell wax, they literally sell all the products you're going to need to tune up your board. Like literally every product I will use in this video is available at pearlwax.com. We'll talk about that later in the video, but we're going to use their eco-friendly base cleaner. We're going to start with just a quick base wipe, and then I have a trick to kind of get out a lot more of this grease in the board. Now, the reason why you want to use a base cleaner and not just water or Windex or some other chemical is because the base cleaner, all the chemicals in it, are designed to help open the pores of the snowboard, which is going to allow it to accept wax a little better. And if you're riding a lot of rails like I do, you're going to get grease from the rails into the pores of your board. It's already looking exponentially better. It's so dirty, I'm going to get a new one. Ah, how is it this dirty? Alright, so we wiped the base a lot, we got a ton of that gunk off, but the next thing we're going to do, this is a little trick of the trade. A lot of people might say this is not the right thing to do, but I do know that it does help rip out some of the grease out of the pores, and that's going to be using a rotary brush before we even wax. So what the rotary brush is going to do is attach this to a drill, and this is designed to buff out your wax after you put it on with the little streaks that help the water run off the board. Also just helps get off excess wax, but what you can do is you can use it to rip out some of the grease that's just in those pores a little bit more. And so that's what I did. I used the yellow brush first. The horsehair brush is more meant for the end, so just super fine, nice thin hairs to kind of just give you that nice, super racy, kind of over the top. Honestly, this whole thing, it's kind of over the top, but when you're getting grease in the rails, stuff like that, I find it really useful to help pull out all of that grease out of the pores just a little better. We're looking really good now, and now it's time to do our edges. But if you want the rotary brush, you want to go this extreme, this is available on pearlwax.com. So get yourself one of these. You want to go to the next level. Next, we're pulling out Pearl's edge tuning kit. This is pretty rad. It's got everything you're gonna need to get your edges right. Nice fancy little box. Now this is overwhelming you because you're like, what does this do? What is this? What's this? All this stuff. It comes with a cheat sheet that like literally covers everything and what it does and when you should use it, which is really rad. Of course though, if you're watching this video, you're gonna kind of have a general idea of how to use all this stuff because I'm using it. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do, and here we go. Now, if you're wondering, you do your edges first before you do any waxing because you want to rip off all the metals, all the burrs, everything like that. You don't want to wax it and then rip a bunch of metal into your freshly tuned base. So we're going to use a gummy stone. This is designed to pull off any rust or any burrs on the side of your board. Your board's been in storage all summer long. There's a good chance to get some rust on it, and this is a great way to get all that rust off. And a burr is like a little metal shard from hitting a rail or hitting a rock that kind of like chewed up your edge a bit. You use this guy to kind of like file it down. So I got like this little rust spot going on, so I would just take this guy. Get all that gunk you got off the edges, so super rad. This thing is really nice. If I wanted sharper edges, I would take this tool right here. I would pick the degree that I wanted at, and then it has an arrow in which you need to direction to slide this guy. So I would see the arrow, it's here, and then I would slide it this way, and that would in my edge. If I had any bigger dings that I needed to kind of like rub out, I could use these diamond stones. There's a whole bunch of grits, like different level of grits and stuff. But my edges are pretty sharp. This is a pretty new board. I was more concerned about the dirt, the gunk on the edges. So once again, I just cleaned them off with my gummy stone, and now my edges are good to go. We're ready to wax this thing. Even my wax iron is pearl wax, and they even have a digital one if you want a fancier wax iron. But I'm gonna crank this baby up and let it heat up real quick. So while the wax iron heats up, we're gonna talk about the temperatures of wax. You'll see all kinds of different colors: blue, yellow, purple, black, whatever. All wax companies have their own colors of wax, but each color is a different temperature of the wax, meaning it's gonna work better in hot or cold or warm temperatures. So with pearl, yellow is their warmest weather, then it gets progressively colder, with green being for their coldest weather out there, like super negative degree weather. And then black, graphite, you add into the yellow or the green. It's just like a second add-in to kind of increase the repellent of dirt or really hard snow, stuff like that. And since early season snowboarding is pretty warm weather, you know, we're riding like 30-40 degree temperatures, it's really only cold and only making snow at nighttime. So we're gonna be using purple wax, which is kind of my go-to even throughout the majority of the season. The warm weather, do it all temp wax, this stuff is insane. Now, if you can see that my wax iron is smoking, that means it's too hot probably. Now it all depends on how nerdy you want to get. You can go to the exact temperature in which the wax is supposed to melt and put it on. You can be that guy. I kind of usually go for speed, or like, let's get this done. So I like crank it up and I like find a good medium temperature. But it's not supposed to be doing that. It's not the end of the world. Now I'm known for dripping too much wax. It's all up to you how much wax you want to put on this thing. The more wax you put on, the more wax you're gonna need to buy and more wax you need to scrape. But don't worry if you use a lot of wax like I do have a code for you. Buck20 will save you 20% off everything, like the iron, the wax, the rotary brush, any of the pearl wax stuff that I've been talking about. Use code Buck20 and you'll save 20% off of it. And Pearl's got you covered with this insane starter kit. So if you've never waxed your own board before and this is something you want to get into, they have a starter kit for you, and then you can then slowly start piecing together other pieces of the wax, like the rotary brush or base cleaner or whatever you want to get. They literally have like the wood braces that I'm using to hold my snowboard up, which are super insane. So once again, go to pearlwax.com, use code Buck20, save 20% off your first purchase, and then use code Buck15 off any other purchase to save 15% off, always on pearlwax.com. It's one of my longest sponsors, by the way. They're super rad. Based out of Colorado, female owned, everything that you could want in a company. So when it comes to rubbing the wax on the board, you want to just kind of like circle motions. You can leave it for a second and then move it. You don't want to leave the wax iron in one spot for too long, because then you could damage that section of the snowboard, you know, like melt all the layers, all that type of stuff. A lot of people recommend taking the bindings off the board. I didn't do that, but the reason why they say is because you got your inserts in there, and then with the screws and everything, if you heat up that section of the board too much, you know, you're heating up those inserts, can cause some deformities, bumps, things like that. So it's really all preference. Once again, this is however nerdy you want to get. How much do you want to love your snowboard? I'm kind of mean to my snowboards. I don't really take the greatest care of them, so it's all up to you. I forgot to mention one method you could do if you want to save wax is you could rub the wax onto the iron and then put it on. That's gonna be the best way to use the least amount of wax if you're concerned about using a lot of wax. I actually didn't forget to say that. I said all of it, but I forgot to start the camera, so we're already halfway done with this process and I wasn't recording, so there's that. All right, we're all rubbed in. We've got to unplug our wax iron, and then you're supposed to let this thing sit. Some people say overnight. I usually do overnight, by the way, but some people say 24 hours, or there's a lot of like recommendations. But for the sake of this video and for the sake of time, and once again, for me, it all varies on when I want this thing waxed. If I want to go ride this morning, I'm going to wax it up, scrape it right now. So I will give it a second to fully, you know, get dried out room temperature, and then we're going to scrape it. The sooner you scrape it, the easier it comes off. Now let's talk scrapers. You're going to want to use a plastic scraper, not a metal scraper, because if you have a metal scraper, you can damage your base. You can scrape too hard and scrape away your base. You don't want to do that. Plastic is not going to let you do that, which is super nice. That being said, they dull super easy. So Pearl's got the solution for you. Pearl has this nice handy little wax sharpener, scraper sharpener, and you just kind of do this guy and sharpen up your scraper. All right, so once you're ready to scrape, this is my least favorite part. You just put in that sweat equity, just kind of push. Once again, the more wax you put on, the more you're scraping. We should be getting these nice little chunks of wax coming off, and you'll have areas of the board that have more wax, so you have to scrape them a little bit good. More good, better, scrape them better. This part of the process is very dirty, so if you do this inside, just know your wife is gonna kill you. But that's why we have the wax station. I built this whole wax station, by the way. If you guys want to see that video, check it out right here. Because my wife was sick of me waxing inside the house, so you know. Don't be a weirdo when we reuse your wax shavings, by the way. Throw these away. And with that, we are good. So after you scrape your board, got it to the way you want it to be, now how much wax you need to get off is, once again, preference. It's all up to you. If it's super late in the season, I don't even scrape my board. I just slap the wax on and let the really chunky, icy snow rip all the wax off for me. If it's mid-season, I'm gonna scrape it and then I'm gonna brush it. Now, Pearl Wax starter kit and Pearl Wax has this little brush right here. And with this, you're gonna wanna just run it across and create the lines for the water, because that's what happens when you snowboard. You melt the ice and snow a little bit and just like water, and these are creating channels for the water to run through the board. And you want to just go one smooth pull all the way from tip to tail. This is how I used to do it, but like you saw earlier, this is how I do it now with the rotary brush. So we're gonna go from tip to tail, kind of just still pretty new to this thing, and it's freaking awesome. Once again, if you want optimum performance, you want to go insane, you can use the horse hair brush after that and just kind of like get it more finely tuned. But for me and anybody that's not an extreme ski racer, this board is gonna get you flying off jumps, bombing hills, anything you need to do. So if you see any comments in there that are critiquing my style, what I did, said I did it wrong, it's because they're just hating on this channel. That being said, if this video was helpful for you, subscribe. And then once again, if you want to save money on any of this stuff, use my code. It's one of the highest percentages off for Pearl Wax, which is super awesome. Buck20, saving you 20% off the starter kit. And now this board is ready for the season, and so am I, and I hope you guys are too. So subscribe to see all the videos for this upcoming year, and as always, thanks for watching. Keep evolving. We'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. It's daily on this Snowboard channel. We do stuff like this daily.